Two down, two to go here in our quadruple header. It's a Super Sunday here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacingLive, and now it's time for the Formula Renault 2K World Cup. It's here, it's RaceSpotTV, it's iRacingLive, and it all starts in a minute. Hit it!
So I'm Dan Garrison, engineer at iRacing. I've been working on dynamic track and wanted to take the lab coat off to kind of give an update on what I've been doing to enhance things on the asphalt side, what we're kind of calling the dynamic track version 2. When we started looking at dirt and the interaction between the tire and the track, kind of pointed us to some things we could improve on the asphalt side as well. We were able to kind of rework the calculations that account for heat transferring generally in the direction from the tire to the track. The track will cool a little bit faster when cars are not on it, but more significantly, cars running on the track are going to impart more energy into it, bringing the temperature up and changing the racing experience so that you do have to be wary of the track getting hot and reducing your grip. I've been rethinking some of the calculations that determine kind of how the rubber is torn, whether it's how much is torn from the tire, how much is torn from a rubbered-in track. I've made some changes so that rolling tire will pick up more rubber. We also looked at the thickness of the rubber under the contact patch and realized we can make improvements to the model there. As a result, we're able to make the tire respond a little bit more to how much rubber is there. We're able to influence how fast the track rubbers in areas where the tires are working hard. So I'm excited about these changes that we're making. The temperature in the track is going to be a lot more dynamic. It's going to mean you're going to have to dive around looking for the cool parts of the track. I think it's going to make the different lines come in and change the racing experience, and I'm really kind of excited to see how this is going to change things following the September build when it comes out.
Welcome to Sunday night here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacingLive. Welcome to the Formula Renault 2K World Cup here on RaceSpotTV, where qualifying is already underway. And as ever, these guys have 2 laps to go as fast as they possibly can in the pursuit for pole position. And as we saw earlier, an advantage in the race, because one thing that's worth noting here, Jake, is that it's very, very tough to pass.
It certainly is. Peter Berryman driving to the line in that number 12 machine. Can he go any quicker than a 29.367? 29 flat! You bet he does! Pole position at the moment, and his man ahead of him, which I believe is Lucas Gotch, cannot get anywhere close enough. So for the moment, pole position so paramount.
Is it 4:45 p.m. GMT again?
Oh, I think it might be.
I mean, this is literally just what we had earlier on today. Between these two drivers scrapping it out in the official series, and now they're doing it all over again here on Sunday night Formula Renaults. As we're just having a look there, a couple of people still on laps. Mark Jarvis is on one as we know. He's just finished this. He's down in P6 in qualifying. A couple of people are still on laps. Julian Grunstall, let's have a ride on board of him in the MSP driver's home car into Hislops.
Yes, and you can really see now he's got to be so neat and precise in this area. He's got to make sure that he doesn't run himself there. Very heavy over the curve, exactly what he needs to do, and he runs a nice amount of curve on exit. Now he heads himself up through the Small Kinks left, heading towards Druids now, the right-hander will, and he's really got to try and find something here, something magical. 30.4 is not going to be good enough. That's only good enough for row 7 alongside Dominic Brennan in the 2-1-2. One corner to go is Lodge, and we'll see if his lap time's any better.
Yep. As he exits himself now out of the final corner. Let's have a look. Past the line. He's up to P10.
P10's pretty good. Row 5 is pretty much a safe zone, you could arguably say, and there are still drivers looking for lap times. What about Ty McLeod? possibly towards the back of the field in 23rd, running Infinity Racing colours, but not the one that you would normally remember off with the Red Bull. But now you can see, drive to the line. Let's see what Ty McLeod can do. A 30.9, it's only good enough for P20.
Yeah, and also Hugo Prato, all the way down in P30.
Hugo Prato must have had some major issues in that number 77 machine, and he is out of laps and crawling at about 11 miles an hour down the straight, so his day is over. He's got to do it the long way.
Yep, we've got ourselves a Mayo ready. He's done all of his laps in the 500, but he's now down at the rear end of your field. I'm just trying to have a look, see if there's anyone else who's really worth looking at. Greg Zeitz. Go on.
Yeah, Greg Seitz at the moment in 15th position right now. His practice times was 1:29.8. That will be good enough to put himself up onto P at number 9 at the moment, just ahead of Gregory Tanson as he heads himself now through juries. He's got to get this lap perfect. It's his final opportunity. He has no other ways about it. Clock in session, 2.5 minutes to go for anyone if they haven't started any laps at all. But the drive to the line out of Lodge gets himself a good run up the hill, and now the small kick left. Drive to the line for Greg Seitz. Can he go quicker? Answer, it's a 30 flat. He goes P10.
Yes, he does. So he moves up then, late on in qualifying day. And, well, that pretty much, as far as I can see, is everyone on track now. There's no one else who really can do a lap.
No, there's no one else who can do a lap at the moment out on track, Will. So I think safe to say, with 2 minutes to go in session, I think pretty much everyone has qualified.
Yep. So let's give yourselves the opportunity to run yourself through your starting grid for this event. Peter Berryman, 129.041 there in the Apex Racing UK machine. Lucas Gotch alongside him. Agnes Waddle in 3rd and Justin Brunner in 4th. As I was saying earlier, this reminds me of a little bit earlier on today here, Jake.
Yes, it did, but the roles were reversed. Lucas Gotch was on pole position, Peter Berryman in 2nd, but at turn 1, Berryman got the nose ahead, got himself down the inside, but there is one distinct difference here, Will. It's longer than what was earlier on today, and there is the big benefactor known as a pit stop.
And pit stops here, well, they're tough. Lucas Shestak there in 5th, Fisson in 6th, Jarvis in 7th, Michael Mittner in 8th. Running out your top 10 is Gregory Tansom and Greg Zeitz. Having a look then through the remainder of your field, a couple of people, Oscar Mangan, a little bit out of place. You also have yourself a guy just ahead of Oscar Mangan. And also we saw a couple of others just there or thereabouts. Could be a little bit better than what we've seen them do previously. I think the biggest one, though, is Hugo Prato, P number 30.
Yeah, Hugo Prato was a race winner back at Circuit of the Americas. The 2-hour special really showed what he could do, but in the end, it's a lap time which doesn't work out for him. If he has set a lap time, which he hasn't, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. He's got to try and get himself through this field, and what's making it worse is the fact that he has to get through 30 other cars when the track is so tight to try and get past anybody, so expect to see some fireworks from the back of the field. I also expect to see the pit entry being incredibly difficult, Will, because you've got to turn it very hard left to get yourself in, and the wall on the right-hand side, the Armco, it just caves in on you.
Indeed so. Check your flags out then. It's time to go racing. The cars now grid themselves up, as we can see them there, and notice how narrow it is on the road towards pit road as well. You kind of literally dance that car to the right hand side, as Jake was just talking about, and hope and pray for the best. But there is a look then from our aerial coverage brought to you by And1 Design, the official graphics partner of RaceSpotTV. And some of the guys at the rear of the field will be starting pretty much down at Lodge Corner. Now, also worth noting that the last 4 Formula Renault races have ended up going under caution. This is a track, but we would argue you're more likely to see a caution than many others. So, these guys have got to be careful, especially for that first lap, because of the fact that you've got those 2 chicanes. You've got the Britain chicane, turn 7, 8 and 9, and then the Hislop chicane down turn 10, turn 11, and then that right-hand sweep into Knickerbrook Corner. It's worth noting then, in terms of the championship, in terms of strategy, make sure you survive those first couple of laps, and you will have to be picking them off one at a time here. There's no easy way of getting quick places unless you do it in the pit stops. You might want to be strategic even. Pit early or pit late. Try and find yourself some clean air. That might be your way of moving yourself through the field, but that, of course, comes with a risk. Waiting now for the last couple of drivers before we can get the third of our 4 races underway here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacingLive. And don't forget, later on today, the iAdvance Indy Elite Series Triple Crown, presented by Rick Motec, will be from Pocono Raceway. Tim Holgate looking to get the entirety of the Triple Crown, making himself the first driver in iRacing history to do so in a big sanctioned league. 30 laps of racing here from Oulton Park. Lights on, lights out, green flag. Let's go racing there. A good start by Berryman. A very good start by Berryman as they storm themselves down in towards turn number 1. Here's the question, Jake. Will they all survive lap number 1?
But at the moment, it just seems for the moment they are surviving turn number 1. Let's think about lap 1 in just a few moments' time. Heading themselves down to the Cascades. Now they head towards Island and the Shell Oil corner. Right now, Linus Stern, Nick Disson under pressure then from the car of Mark Jarvis. No, he ducks in behind. So Linus Stern at the front. And at the moment, Peter Berryman doing exactly what he did last time out. He got himself away from the field. And now he's getting himself away in such a way where he doesn't need to be challenged too much. You've got to be so careful in this midfield. One line suits all.
Yeah, we had one driver go off, but look at how hard it is through here. And that is a very good start to these guys. We talked about the fact we had a caution.
Reddy's gone straight on at the back. Sorry to cut you off like that. He just completely missed his braking point, I think, and he's clipped the wall there on the right-hand side coming in. Yeah, just completely misjudged it, avoiding action there, and I think his suspension is very heavily damaged.
Yeah, and of course he was towards the rear of the field anyway, so a bad day goes worse from Mayo Reddy. On board with Lucas Scott, started second, running second, on the rear of Peter Berryman then, as they head themselves now underneath Warwick Bridge down to Lodge Corner. If you want to make that pass, try and do it early. We may well see a potential opportunity down in towards turn number 1, but Gotts doesn't get himself a good run out of that corner.
No, he doesn't. Now he's got to be really careful about where he does it. He can't do it into turn number 1, so he's going to stay behind and hope that he can run that slipstream there into that very difficult turn 1. And again, Peter Berryman just takes a little bit more out of the corner, a little bit more of the curb, and that just gives him that extra tenth of a second as the car grips on the right-hand side down to the Cascade. And again, Gotch not close enough. Gotch needs to find something a little bit more.
Yeah, Mark Jarvis there just got past by next Disson. Disson was struggling at the start of the earlier race, then improved. Looks as though that he's better now in his second race of the day. On board Rene Osterkamp, running himself in that Hydroforce Racing number 129 machine down into Shell Oil's corner. They come once again, but fantastic start by these guys. A really fantastic start to these guys in this event, Jake. We have only got a couple of people out that didn't start the event, and Mayo Reddy is actually still going.
Yeah, Mayo Reddy doing really well. Rene Osterkamp in that Vector Sim Sport Group Car 129 correction. Team has changed for him. Down to the right left of Hislops. Nickerblock coming up. Well, he's got to try and get around Julian Grunestel, who's really shown what he's got at the moment here, Will. And you have to say, there are these little two-car fights up and down your field that keep going on, but you have to get the move done quickly or don't get it at all. Angus Waddell also in P number 3, under threat from the 102 in X Racing of Justin Brunner.
Yeah, we're on board of Panda Motorsports. Dominic Brennan right now. He's on the rear also of Reto Hartmann in the MSP driver's home car. Peter Berryman then, fastest lap of the day so far, 129.583, as Brennan's looking for the move as they come down in towards turn number 1. Let's go side by side of these two in towards that first corner. Oh, trouble! And one of them gets turned around there, and that is the driver of Hartmann in towards turn number 1. While there's passing, and then there's being crashed out onto the side of the racetrack. Replay coming up, Jake.
Yeah, it's a really weird one there. The inside was Dominic Brennan's. I think the only way that incident happens is because of a snap oversteer moment trying to correct the car. Nowhere that Dominic Brennan could go, and in the end, it looks like the break in the buffer had to be Renault Hartmann. Yeah, unfortunate for him though. Justin Brunner versus Agnes Waddell then. Let's have a look on board with that NX Racing machine down into Hislops. Ed just down into the right left here, really trying to work out what it's going to do. Ed gets himself nice and tighter into that left-hander, the second part of his laps than Justin Brunner was. That's going to open up that line a little bit more then for what is Justin Brunner. Right now, his spotter just comes in on the radio, make sure that everything works out in his respect into the right-hander of Druids now, and Justin Brunner's got to get himself on the power now and get that move done quickly if he's going to catch Gotch and Berryman is now romping away at the front.
Yes, he is. We have some technical issues potentially, though, for Peter Berryman. We'll keep an eye out on that one. Brunner versus Weddle. Well, this is your best overtaking opportunity into turn number 1 here, but you're not quite close enough if you're Justin Brunner. It's America there versus Great Britain in terms of the Olympics. It's America versus Great Britain in terms of P3 and P4 on track right now, as you have a look from the rear of the carbon racing car of Agnes Waddell. Now, your second best opportunity is down into Shadow Oil's corner, but Brunner is nowhere near close enough.
No, it just seems that he cannot hook it up in that slipstream. Everyone's going to try and run high downforce setups here because it's just so imperative to get yourself nice and quickly through the corners. There is no real benefit to running top speed on the straight. There are other battles going on as well, Will, that we do need to take a look at. Greg Seitz train hotting up. Oscar Mangan, Gruner still there. Rene Osterkamp starting to fall off the back. Then yes, truly train-esque you could say. But Greg Seitz doing a great job. Started 10th, still 10th, holding onto the position nicely.
Yeah, and we're on board with Oscar Mangan there in the Apex Racing UK machine. You can see just right at the rear of Greg Seitz right now on the exit of Hislop's down into Ward. Knickerbrook once again. There you can see that left-hand side of your screen, your moves and shakers in the event so far. And worth noting there, that's an important fact, there's only been one change for position inside your top 10. Jarvis up 1 position, and then of course you've got yourself the driver of Nick Thisson down 1 spot. Oscar Mangan is actually your biggest mover in your field so far, up 4 places, running in P11, and of course he's looking for more as Peter Berryman goes purple once again.
Yes, he does, and Justin Brunner closer this time into turn number 1, but not close enough. Just got held up through the final part of Lodge. There couldn't get the power down as early as he would like. Of course, Justin Brunner coming in from the IndyCar background, formerly a Star Mazda champion as well. That's where his pace lies, comes into the Formula Renault for the next 2 seasons. And, well, you can see he's right on the back of Angus Waddell, really looking to try and get himself a way through down the inside. No, not going to happen. Gap at the front for Peter Berryman, almost a second, if not a second, Will. Now the power's starting to push. And Peter Berryman, well, you might as well call him Sebastian Berryman.
Yeah, and of course, let's not forget earlier today we saw that he was very good at managing the event. Brunner on the rear, he's not going to try anything stupid down into Hislop's. He almost is impossible to pass into Hislop's. And a little bit wide there for the driver of Agnes Waddell, and that meant that Brunner now has half an opportunity, but he can't get the car well through Knickerbrook back on board of him.
Yeah, it's a real shame for Justin Brunner. He's really pushing the car, trying to get past Angus Waddell right now in the number 53 Carbon Racing Outlet machine. And now he's really got to try and find a way through. Again, the car is close, but close is not quite close enough as they head to Lodge Corner for the 5th time this evening. It might just be a case of it all comes down to the pit exit, the pit entry as well, because it's just so difficult to pass here. You might want to undercut to do it in the stops.
Berryman again goes purple, 107.53 miles an hour. Nick Thisson gathering a tweakers machine there versus Mark Jarvis, battle for P6. And as you said, this is the only change of position we've had so far inside the top 10. Nick Thisson wants to get that position back though. He gets himself a very good run off the corner. This might give him half an opportunity through Island Bend, and this is going to be able to show you. We saw earlier pass down into Island went horribly wrong, but even down here the issue is into Shell Oil's corner, because Island Bend is so fast, it makes it very difficult to close up and then swing it down to the inside, Jake.
Yeah, it's very difficult because you ever so slightly lose the toe a little bit heading into that left-hander, and once you lose the toe, you lose all that advantage that you're building up down that long back straightaway, and then you get into that right-hander of Shell Oil's corner, and it's just not close enough. Just can't find the opportunity to go through. Now, Mark Jarvis has to be a little bit careful. He was attacking last lap. Lucas Jed sat there in the 193 in 5th position. Now he's got to play the game of defense with Nick Thisson in that GOT car behind. And they've also got to be very careful about the Vector Sim Sport of Michael Mittner, just sitting there, waiting in the distance. Might have only done a 130 flat compared to the 29.8, but if they get battling a little bit too hard, Mittner can come in and Mittner can pounce.
Yep, having a look then on board, they're drilling Grunestel in the MSP driver's home car versus Oscar Mangan versus Greg Seitz right now. Battle P10, 11, 12 on track. And it looks as though Julian's got himself a good run off of this final corner with Oscar Mangan as they come down into turn number 1. He has a half a look down to the inside. Nowhere near close enough, though, to try and make that pass. Mangan swings a little bit wide on the exit of the corner. This will allow Julian the chance to close up again on the exit of Cascade. And it's sometimes worth noting at this track, you give a little bit up to gain it a little bit later on in this event. In terms of retirees, we have 2 so far, Dominic Brennan and Ritter Hartman now are classified as out of this event. Top 8 on the bottom of your screen. Let's a 3-horse race now for 5, 6 and 7.
Yes, it certainly is at the moment, and well, you had to say Oscar Mangan was struggling back in the field, but now it is firmly a 3-horse race. No one able to get through, and now actually something very interesting coming on. Mark O'Connell heading down the front straightaway right now, so in about 5 to 10 minutes time, we could see lap traffic being an ever so slight factor. And lap traffic around here, Will, is a lot more difficult than everywhere else, because where do you get out of the way? If you're running it, it's a slow left into a slow right into a slow left, and there's no real opportunity to get past. Lap traffic could be a massive factor around here.
And of course, let's not forget, compared to earlier, this is a 45-minute race, so traffic will become a factor. Also a slightly larger field as well. Back on board with Mark Jarvis right now versus Lucas Chestack as they head themselves out the final corner towards turn number 1 once again. And there's a look at this racetrack. And it's a racetrack where turns 2 to about turn number 10, it literally, you can see the entire thing. This is a fantastically beautiful racetrack here, Jake. And in terms of difficulty, it is right up there with some of the best.
Oh, it certainly is, and you have to feel as a British track, it's pretty much underappreciated by quite a few other tracks that come up in the English calendar, in the Great British calendar. You talk about the likes of Silverstone, you talk about the likes of Donington Park, you talk about the likes of, say, all those that go on. Say Oulton Park is probably the 3rd circuit. Brands Hatch, another one that comes into mind. You have to say this is one of the circuits that gets forgotten, but it's a hidden gem here in the United Kingdom, and it's certainly putting some good races in. Jarvis, right tucked in, moves to the inside, potentially no, stays behind, had the best opportunity possible to send one down the inside, and you know what? I wouldn't have blamed him if he did.
Yeah, we'll get ourselves another quick look at that one. Yeah, we will, very quickly. This is what happened. Exit of Britons. He gets very close there, up the crest. He had half a look, and then decided that discretion was the better part of valor for him there, but he's still right on the coattails as they come down into the Lodge corner once again. Now he goes down to the inside. That's bold, but he manages to make it stick. Mark Jarvis up into P5.
Brilliant move from the Carbon Racing man. He's really showing what he needs to do. Now he's got to push because he's trying to chase down Justin Brunner, who has made a mistake this lap by his last lap of 30.6. Not really that quick. Compare that to Angus Waddell, who's now opened that gap here, Will. Did a 29.6 that last time by. Peter Berryman did a 29.3 lap just then, and is really showing what he can do. That's only a 10th off of what he was doing earlier on to set purple lap times. So you have to say right now, Angus Waddell's found something.
Yeah, Waddell is moving himself actually into that clear 3rd position. Still slower though than Lucas Gotch at this stage of the event. There you can see Gotch just a little bit ragged there over the curbs on the exit of Britons. But so far, I have to say that this has been an incredibly clean race, Jake. These guys were worried after what we've seen earlier on in the season, whether or not we could have seen some mayhem here. What we've seen is racing at its very best, as Oscar Mangan had half a chance there, down into his slops and just couldn't do it.
No, he couldn't. He's already through on Greg Seitz off camera, so that's going to be interesting to see. Seitz and Grunestel, they're going to be going at it hammer and tongs. Coming up later on now, heading towards Druids is Oscar Mangan, and Mangan's been a little bit ragged here, out of position, you'd have to say, for the talent he is. Of course, Black Stripe in his own right at the Pro Series as well, and you can see here, heading himself now down towards Lodge. Again, not quite close enough, but you have to say, he's a little bit wriggly with that car. I don't think he's quite comfortable here, Will, with it, because I've seen it a couple of times. He's had a couple of wiggles out of a couple of corners.
Yeah, and of course, for some of these guys, well, this is not the only car they race. Transitioning backwards and forward can sometimes be tough. On board with Mangan once again. Much better run now out of Old Hull Corner down into Denton's and Cascades. closes right up here. And this is what I mean about give a little to get a little, Jake. If he was to attempt to a second further back, he could have carried that momentum through Cascade, but he had to get out of the noisy pedal. He is still close down into Island Bend. This is going to be the best chance I think we see of anyone having a pass in towards Shadow's corner, and he looks to the outside.
Yes, he does, but it's not going to be enough to throw it around. I think his setup is completely juxta to everyone else. I think he's trying to run a slipstream setup here. Has to back out of it into Britain's here. This right-left chicane, well, left-right-left even. And now up the hill and back down again. He's close. He's within range here, and you can see here he's trying to work out a way through. Goes to the inside. He has a big look, but no, he's going to wait on the brakes there. A big look, but a big look is all it ever was.
Yes, as Gregory Tanson just ahead thinking, okay, that's how you want to play it. I'll play a little bit more defensively. Up front, we have Nick Thyssen versus Lucas Jestak. That is for P6, for P number 7 going on right now. Thyssen right on the coattails of Jestak, down in towards Lodge they come again.
Yeah, and again, not quite close enough, but can he get a good enough exit? The answer is yes, he can here, right underneath that slipstream here. 2/10 the gap, 1/10 the gap. Looks to the inside. Does Nick Thyssen that GOT machine? Down to the inside. No, doesn't happen. Pinched on the curb and nowhere to go. And the gap from what was literally nothing, Will, already 0.6 of a second.
And that's the thing. If you battle here, you've got to remember the fact that it can all come unglued very, very quickly. Greg Zeitzer, P11, P12. That is mighty close. Oscar Mangan versus Gregory Tanton. He's dropped off a little bit here. He's made a mistake because now Greg Zeitz is right back with him. Grinstall is right there behind him as well, on board with the 4th driver in this train. It's the number 95 MSP driver's home car.
Yes, you can see just how close he gets here through Shallow Oil's corner now, heading to Britain's. Not quite close enough at the moment. He's just got to stay calm here as he lets the gap go. He says, you know what, I don't need to fight everything for the moment. I can afford to drop back, get my car in slightly cleaner air, possibly help the engine flow, make the car run a little bit more efficiently than it is at the moment here, because you get stuck behind, you get so much understeer. It actually brakes a lot later there compared to Greg Seitz there, who had to brake early because of Oscar Mangan ahead of him, and now the gap down to 2/10. So yeah, you have to say, playing a little bit of dummy at the moment is Julian Grunestel.
Yep, and as a consequence now, Greg Zeitz could well lose that position. Although Grunestel there getting very wide down into Druids, and I have seen so many people push wide on the exit of Druids and then smash it almost literally into the bridge.
Lando Norris earlier on today did exactly the same thing, but now you can see here Julian Grunestel still there, stuck behind, still can't quite get close enough. Still the move is not going to happen at the moment. We are at lap number 12 of 30. Pit stop window, well, you betcha it's coming around right now, Will.
You know what? I talked about it and someone did it. Josh Thompson, just as I was saying, you always crash into the bridge. Josh Thompson's there, just run a little bit wide on the exit of Druids. Thanks for proving my point. Apologies there about your race car, however. Pit stop window, as Jake was just alluding to, it's kind of open now. That window's open between now and about lap number 19. If you're someone like Nick Thyssen, if you're someone like Greg Zeitz, Oscar Mangan, you think, should I come in early? But the last thing you want is you to swing right on towards pit road and your opponent swings in also.
Yeah, you've got to be really precise, and if you do get that situation, which you cannot predict at any way, shape or form, it's then a battle of pit crews that you have to make sure you get right. There you can see Thyssen just waiting there, tucked in under Lucas Jedsat right now, has lost quite a bit of time compared to Mark Jarvis, a full second, 2.3. He is there, stuck behind the Carbon Racing man, but again, you can see he gets close. He has a little bit of a look down into Lodge. There, he's close, 0.2 of a second, 1/10. No, not going to happen. Down on the brakes. Will any of them come in this time by? Answer for that one is, at the moment, a big fat no. He's going to stay behind for the moment, but I think he might have a move.
Yep, down in towards turn number 1 again, but that time by, he didn't get the momentum he needed off the Lodge corner to put himself into position to try and make that pass. So he has remained back in line once again. Oscar Mangan, though, versus Gregory Tanton. This is now a chance for Oscar Mangan. Down to the inside he goes, and he manages to make that pass. He does it cleanly into Cascades, and just like that, Oscar Mangan is driving away.
Yes, he is. He's +6, and he's really showing what he needs to do. He was a little bit out of position, but now the gap is starting to be a little bit large. He's got to find 5 seconds over a driver known as Michael Mittner in order to close that one down. That one's going to be very difficult to do. Again, Seitz being very resilient with Grunenstern behind him. Still can't quite make that move sorted at the moment here, Will. And now you have to say, everyone's going to start thinking, you know what, maybe I don't need to run my tank dry just yet. Maybe, just maybe, I need to make that early stop to get the track position.
Justin Brunner is one of those people we expect to maybe come in early. He's currently running himself in P4, but he's been stuck behind Agnes Waddle now for some time. Exit of Druids down towards Lodge Corner. Brunner's got himself a good run. He's going to try the outside line there, in towards turn 16 Lodge Corner. Can't get a run out of here, but he might get a run in towards turn number 1. This is the best run that Justin Brunner's had, and you can see, playing defensive goes Waddle, but we know that outside line can work. Brunner not able to do so, but maybe a cut under. Maybe the opportunity to now go down to the inside, in towards Cascade. Answer to that question is, though, no, not just yet. Brunner, I think, needs coming towards pit road if he wants any chance of getting the podium long term.
I think Angus Waddell's actually being a little bit too defensive, in my opinion, Will. You saw him coming down into Lodge. Didn't have to make that defensive move. The gap was not enough for a dive bomb attempt from Justin Brunner, and in the end, it compromised the run. It meant that he was fighting through turn 1. It meant he was fighting through Denton's and also the Cascades. He's got to be very careful about how he places that car, and I think he's just protecting for protecting's sake at the moment.
So, behind Jestak versus Nick Thyssen, of course. We've been talking about this one for a while. Jestak now behind Nick Thyssen, of course, and there's confirmation inside your top 10. Jarvis is up 2 positions. Oscar Mangan, I have to say, a fantastic job by him. He's really the only driver who's been able to pass people consistently on track. Hugo Preto, by the way, up into P number 16, up 15 places. Yep, he's done a fantastic job also, but we do know, of course, that at the rear of the field, we know Hugo Preto has a fast car generally. He just had a miserable qualifying.
And a miserable qualifying is going to hurt you more here than anywhere else in terms of the calendar of the 2K Cup. And a big car goes off, and that's Gregory Tanson, I think, is it? Yes, it is. Tanson, and down at Druids, where we said it before, Will, hits himself under the bridge, and that is a classic incident.
Yep, let's have a look then. MSP driver's home machine of Gregory Tanson. This is probably unforced. It is unforced. What's up, white line? What's up, tyre barrier? That was a hard hit for Gregory Tanson, but we talk about it so often here. And that's the thing, over time, you know, the Wall of the Champions is one of them. The exit of Radion is one of them at Spa. There's those corners where you know it can happen, and it just comes out of nowhere. And, well, Gregory Tanson, he just clipped that white line. You can see that there from our aerial coverage, and then that car spearing to the right-hand side. And Gregory Tanson, as a consequence, is pretty much out of this motor race.
Yeah, it's just a difference of a couple of kilometers an hour, Will. It's not much to get yourself over that curb a little bit too much. Greg Seitz has just come onto pit road. He's back out and away. He's down behind Ty McLeod at the moment, so he's got a lot of clean air, and that's going to be very interesting for a lot of people running around at the moment here, Will, because they see Greg Seitz in clean air, they will hear that filter back into them, and they think, you know what, I might just try and make a pit stop now because I know there is clear air available as everyone else comes in around me.
And of course, now we're at the halfway point of this motor race. It means that if you're thinking and worrying about tyre preservation, then you know you've done half of it. The fuel's going to be lighter. Brunner does come in. We talked about someone coming on towards pit road being Brunner, and you talked about that Armco barrier. Well, Brunner almost did whack it there.
Yeah, he's got to be very careful about it, and he was just taking everything as quickly as he possibly could there. Now down onto the box, making sure he can fill that car up as quickly as he can. And also coming in is Michael Mittner for Vector Sinsport. Brunner out and away. Is he in clean air? That's the crucial question between him and Angus Waddell. And the answer is yes, he will be. David Soranzo coming around turn number 1. So, problem city for Waddell. He's got to go and hit those perfect lap times.
Yep, there is Waddell. As it stands right now, a few people have pitted. Justin Brunner is one of them. There's his pit stop time, 4.6 seconds. Michael Mittner, 5 seconds. And Greg Seitz as well has pitted, 4.7 seconds. On the lane right now is Dan Nygaard, and he's out and away in a longer 6 seconds. And Frederick Johansson out and away for Team Tortoise. That's not slow. That's 5.0 seconds for him. Let's check in on your race leader, Peter Berriman. Where is he? He's on the exit now of Druids, down Warwick Bridge in towards Lodge Corner. We expect him in realistically in the next couple of laps. But Berriman, he's managing this race now. 3.1 second advantage over Lucas Scott, and he's onto pit road.
Yes, he is, and you can't take any liberties. You can see there, locking up the tyres coming down in, and Gotch is going to stay out another lap. Will Waddell come in as well? Answer yes, he's going to cover that undercut done by Justin Brunner, and well, now it's just a case of pit crews. Now you've got to be very careful about where you place it right now. Cars coming through, Jedsack comes in, Mark Jarvis comes in. This is fantastic. Mangan in, Grunestel stays out, and Osterkamp will come in as well.
Yep, so Peter Berriman then 5.4 seconds as he will come back out onto track. There's the MSP driver's home machine. What we want to keep an eye out though is going to be where will Lucas Gotch come out in that situation. Of course, the Mangan situation.
Brunner's got the jump.
And that's what I'm about to say there. Justin Brunner has got the jump now over Angus Weddell by 1 second. And I think the reason why, that was a fantastic outlap really for Justin Brunner. The gap now is 1 second in the opposite direction.
Fantastic work from the American of Inex. He has certainly pulled himself back into this one. He's now net on the podium, and now we all look, say, at what is Lucas Gotch. If he comes down in onto pit road this lap, we know that he's got to try and cover everything possible now. We know he's not quite close enough to Peter Berriman to make that one, but if he has a bad stop, overruns it, smacks the wall, Waddell and also Justin Brunner will move up positions.
Yeah, there's confirmation of the Brunner coming out of pit road early. Lucas Gotch, 10 seconds over Nick Thyssen. Nick Thyssen hasn't pitted yet either. Realistically, we're keeping our eyes out on third place. Here comes Gotch on towards pit road. He's
there
in
we can see
safely.
Yeah, there, makes it sure very nicely. Nick Thyssen, we'll see if he'll come in right now, and the answer is going to be yes. Moves over to the left-hand side, and right-hand side even, and he does get himself in, gets himself nice, cuts the line very, very well. Peter Berriman will now come out down this front straightaway, so that gap is going to be one where it's not going to be anything for Lucas Gotch. Gotch coming out of pit lane right now, trying to run everything he possibly can. Where is Justin Brunner? Answer is absolutely nowhere. Answer is, well, it's going to be unchallenged then for what is Lucas Gotch. But we look at Angus Waddell, we look at Nick Thyssen right now, because here comes Mark Jarvis, potentially side by side.
They are going to be side by side, and Jarvis will just squeeze himself through there. So Jarvis back ahead there on Nick Thyssen, but that was what I like to call close. And of course Thyssen now has a good opportunity to try and be bold into Island Bend. He looks himself down to the inside, and I think he caught Mark Jarvis napping, but he can't seal the deal.
No, he can't. He can't afford to run out right-hand side. Can't afford to take the penalty if he smacks off Mark Jarvis. We saw it earlier on today. Lando Norris and Juni Silvasti, both of them got themselves together. Both of them ended in tears and controversy. And now you have to say, Mark Jarvis has the advantage once again in this fight. Can just stay calm, can just stay cool, doesn't have to do too much, just has to defend and make sure that there is no opportunity for Nick Thyssen to go through.
Well, there you can see then your top 8 on the bottom of your screen. The time will update for Lucas Gotch the next time he comes past the start-finish line, because of course he has recently just come out of pit road. There is the gap though. It's 2.2 seconds. Worth noting that actually Berriman lost himself a second on that last lap. That's interesting, Jake. Oh, on that sequence of pit stops is what I mean.
Yeah, most certainly. Most tracks do normally say that the overcut is the better strategy, but around a circuit like this, where you are going to be very tight, very twisty, very technical, and traffic will be an issue later on in the race, you have to say the undercut has certainly paid dividends right now, as actually Evan Imre out of the race as well. They're stuck on pit road also for Team Tortoise, so that's not ideal for him. But Nick Thyssen still on the back of Mark Jarvis. He tried to make everything work, tried to go as long as he can, but this is brilliant information later on, because if they find another track like this, now differing strategies, it all causes confusion in every driver's head.
It does indeed. We're going to step aside for just one moment. Take your RaceSpotTV side by side. We'll be back in 90 seconds. Welcome back. We're running on board of Lucas Scotch, and it's worth noting last time by Lucas Scotch, 0.3 of a second faster than Peter Berryman. We may well have a race on our hands.
We may as well. Gap now under 2 seconds at the moment, Will, and this one can close down in. He's only got 10 laps to do it, though, so it's 2/10 a lap he's got to find right now. Lucas Scotch to try and catch Peter Berryman, but Berryman, very crucially, 7/10 of a second slower than what he was doing at the start of the race. A full second slower, Will, than his fastest lap of the motor race. So, Peter Berryman, is he saving something in the tank for later on, or is he just struggling on the tyres? Are the pressures maybe a little bit too high, the tyres too hot?
Well, yeah, this is a fascinating situation, although that gap's come back up. Gorge just had himself a slow couple of corners. I'm not quite sure where, but he's lost himself about half a second.
Well, I have to say, Lucas Scotch, his lap times haven't been too bad at the moment here. 29.2, his fastest comes out, does a 29.6, so not really too bad at the moment, just maybe drivers struggling here on this second tyre run stint. So you have to say, it is going to be a difficult one to see. Maybe Peter Berryman can hold off, stave off Gotch for a second time. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Lucas Gotch might just be the beaten man.
Just going to have a replay here. And I just had a look at the sector times, and he did make an issue on his second sector. So we're just going to have a look back and see if we can find it. There it is. He lost a little bit there by running wide down at Britain's. Just going to have a look at his laps as well at Knickerbrook. But it just came up on the corner of my eye there, Jake. He did lose half a second in a sector there, that middle sector. And you can see that from the lap times. He lost 4/10 on that lap over Peter Berryman.
But even more crucially, he's only lost 1/10 though on his last lap prior, so you have to say it hasn't affected his overall pace too much, but he's got to be very careful about how he puts himself in, how he gets himself in through these corners. And again, you can see getting himself very, very close to these curves, making sure he is very aggressive, trying to chase down his man. But Peter Berryman is no slouch. He is a pro driver in the iRacing.com Grand Prix World Championship Series for a reason, Will, and that reason is because he's leading this race.
Yep, Nick Thisson versus Mark Jarvis still sat at 4/10 of a second. We briefly showed you May already. We're going to go back and show you a bit more of him. He's moved himself up through the field here today, 12 places. Now trying to hand himself over to David Soranzo. Battle for P number 15 on track. May already hunting the top 15 after starting at the rear of the field.
Yes, and you have to remember, he had that instant lap one, collected the tyres down in on towards Britain's, and now you can see he's getting himself very close there in that 500 machine right now, trying to get himself around Soranzo, but Soranzo's not going to have any of it down in towards Hislop's. Not quite close enough at the moment. Might be a couple more laps of setup.
Yep, so a lot of action's been going on up and down your field. Lucas Scotch again slower, 0.3 of a second to Peter Berryman. Peter Berryman last time by 129.4, Lucas Scotch a 129.7. There's a quick look then at Lucas Scotch. There's a quick look at Peter Berryman in the Apex Racing car, on board through Sector 2.
Yeah, and you can really see what's going on, but now you have to look at Nick Thisson here, Will, because he is right on the back heading towards Shell Oil. No, not close enough, so you have to say Thisson's looking, Thisson's waiting, but the opportunity not happen again. You can see Peter Berryman now down in towards Hislop's, into the right, very nice, into the left, make sure he holds it, uses all of the track, doesn't come across the whole of the way, and a little bit of a lock-up down towards the right-hander, so he's got to be very careful about how he does it. I think there was a little bit of a trail break there, so very tactically working there, that car as hard as he possibly can, down towards Drones, and Peter Berryman, the epitome of what is a fantastically cool and calm driver.
Yeah, and it seems to be, I said this earlier on today, Peter Berryman is running this race at about 95%. It is a track where running every lap at 100% will hurt you. We've seen it at Lucas Scott. He sometimes just loses literally a half second here and there because of how hard he was pushing to try and make that gap up to Peter Berryman. Nick Thisson versus Mark Jarvis. I'm just thinking here, maybe Thisson's got more wing than other people, because he just doesn't seem to have the confidence in those medium to high speed corners that others have had today.
Yeah, that really does seem to be an issue here at the moment that Nick Thisson's had. He hasn't managed to get himself to close himself down in. He might just have to try and find another way of doing it, maybe work around his problems and try an area that nobody else has really tried again down through what is the Cascades. He gets close, but close is not quite good enough. You got to be uber close and making your way past here as he heads down into Island. Not quite close enough. Shell Oil again on the back, but still not quite close enough. Just has to find that extra tenth of a second somewhere along the lap wheel to get himself all over the back of that carbon racing car of the number 2 of Mark Jarvis.
And of course, I got myself wrong. I meant less downforce, more downforce. But you know what I mean. If you can't hold a car through medium speed corner, it means you probably don't have enough downforce on your race car. But Michael Mittner, Lucas Jestak, this is right behind. And having a look, actually, they are. Mittner is catching Jestak, who is been hanging around with Thyssen and Jarvis. This could become a
This has made a
battle at the end.
mistake, and now off into the grass.
Yes, Thyssen is off. So, well, we're going to call it a 4-horse race. It's now a 3-horse race once again. On board with Nick Thyssen. Let's listen in. Oh, I just loses it down at Knickerbrook, and those curbs are so deceptive, Jake. They often say to you, try and avoid the curbs at this track, and sometimes you just abuse them a little bit too much. That's what happened to Nick Thyssen down at Knickerbrook. There we can see he caught the first one just at the wrong angle, and that's what sent the back end of that car sliding around. Didn't touch the second one at all, really, but he didn't hit the wall. He's down to P8. Bit of a broken ego, though, for Nick Thyssen.
Yeah, you'll really be hurting after that one. You had to question whether the red mist will start to descend from him. You have to say he got himself up over the curb. He didn't quite get that one. The line that he wanted there, just tried to be a bit too aggressive, take too much out of it. And it's one of those things. You give a little, you give a little, you give a little, you take it away, says the circuit. And well, that one's going to be one that stays in the memory for quite a while longer, and especially for the next 6 laps, Will.
Earlier on, we were talking about the battle with Justin Brunner versus Agnes Waddle. Seems to be that Waddle is now 2.5 back of Justin Brunner. Brunner, of course, came out with the advantage, and that's what we mean here today. Brunner is now 4 tenths of a second a lap faster than Waddle, but because of the fact it's so hard to pass, you realistically need to be at least 3/4 of a second a lap faster if you really want to find a way past at this track.
Yeah, you really do. You've got to make sure that you get that one big lap. You talk about, say, Formula 1, where they just wait off, and then go for that banzai lap. There are a couple of times where Fernando Alonso's McLaren Honda has gone within thousandths of the flying lap because he's put everything into just one lap. But you have to say, if any car can do it, if any driver can do it, they've just got to pace themselves, make sure they are patient right now, because the gaps have started to open up once again here, Will, and now they have to be closed once again with 6 to go.
Kurt Crum is going to go down a lap. No, he won't, actually. He's a minute behind your race leader. There is a driver, though, who is about to go a lap down to Peter Berryman. And there you can see Peter Berryman. And there you can see the guy about to go another lap down. That is the driver of Marcio Arizon. There we can have a look there. And Arizon just going to allow him to go right past. Good work there by the Fura Racing team car.
Yeah, very good work there. Made sure he got out of the way very, very quickly, and he's got to do it again in just a couple of moments' time because Lucas Scotch hot on the heels of Peter Berryman, but Berryman walking away with things at the moment. So you have to say Lucas Scotch has tried. He has tried everything possibly that he can, but in the end, I think he doesn't have enough pace in that car to say he can catch a driver of Berryman's caliber.
Yeah, fastest lap of the race today so far has been Peter Berryman, 107.76 miles an hour. So he has been absolutely flying, just like what he was doing a little bit earlier on today. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we still have one more race of our quadruple header to come up, and it will be the iAdvance Indy Elite Series Triple Crown Finale, presented by Rick Motec. It is Pocono, which takes center stage in the iAdvance Indy Elite Series. One driver, Tim Holgate, looking to move the Triple Crown. He's won the first 2 races of the Triple Crown. He's looking to become the first driver in iRacing history to win all 3 legs in big level competition. Check it out from just over after midnight UK time. That's just after 11 PM GMT here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacingLive. Mittner versus Jestak. We'll continue to look at that one. Down to 5 to go. And the lap times they're trading in the last time by, Mittner was faster by 2/10. He's now within a second.
He's within a second, yes, but you have to remember, there is an advantage for Jetstat. He does have Mark Jarvis 1 second ahead as well, so that is going to just be playing that equalising game. Mark Jarvis being the benefactor, who gets himself very, very tight through that corner, locked up a little bit as well. Michael Mittner's got to find an extra gear here, or he's not going to get it. He's got himself 4 to go when they next cross the line, and again, you can say they're trading lap times, but Mittner's got to consistently be ahead. These guys are some of the fastest out on circuit here at the moment, and actually, I'm going to counter that. They are the fastest men on circuit, barring Peter Berryman.
Yep, and of course, they're both faster than Lucas Jestik at this point. Last time we talked about this becoming a 3-horse race, 4-horse race, a driver spun off. We're going to try it again. Mark Jarvis, Lucas Jestik, Michael Mittner then. Becoming a 3-horse battle because P6 is faster than P5, P7 faster than both of them. As last time by, that was the case once again. 0.7 of a second now between 5 and 6. 0.8 of a second between 6 and 7. A tenth isn't enough though at this stage. You need to be about 3-4 tenths faster if you want to make this a real battle, Jake.
Yeah, you really do have to make sure that you get this in nice and close. And again, Michael Mittner struggling now because Lucas Jetsat has that slipstream here that he can use a lot more effectively because he's tucked in a lot closer compared to Mark Jarvis than Mittner is to Jetsat. So Mittner now will fall away from the train. Jetsat is finding hammer lap times right now, you could say, and he's forcing a mistake. And again, up over the curb goes Mark Jarvis. And I think now the gap comes down closer and closer. We're within range here, Will. Now it's all about how can Mark Jarvis hold on.
Well, yes, it's 4 tenths of a second, 3.5 laps to go. The thing is, the good thing you know at this racetrack is that the passing zones are very clearly defined. But this corner they're coming up to right here, it is the great equalizer. It is Druids, and you mess up there, say goodbye to your motor race. Car just getting out of the way. We saw that car earlier. It's just literally moving off the track to get out of the way for people. 0.4 of a second. 3 laps to go in this event. I think that Jarvis will have to make a mistake for Lucas to get past.
Oh yeah, certainly, but Lucas Jetsat is really trying to push on, and we've already seen one mistake from Mark Jarvis, and now you can see here how Jetsat is just keeping those lap times very, very consistent. 29.7, 29.8, 29.8, a 29.6 last time by to put the pressure down and put the gauntlet firmly in the hands of Mark Jarvis now, heading towards Ireland, heading now towards the Shell Oil corner, and still not quite close enough, but now he's just got to play the pressure game.
Yep, as Queen and Bowie would say, under pressure right now for Mark Jarvis, down into Britons once again. Through the curving nicely though for both drivers. Carbon Racing versus MSP drivers home. 2.5 laps to go for this battle, and it's remained mighty, mighty close. But it needs to be closer than just mighty, mighty close for Lucas. He needs to find a way of being able to pull alongside, and he loses a 10.5 of a second that time through Sector 2.
Hey, they can see where the dirty air comes in because it's slow to quick, and you've got to make sure that you're especially through that section in towards Knickerbrook, that you are right there in behind. Now you can say Mark Jarvis is finding the extra gear, turning on the overboost right now because he needs to find that little bit of breathing room that he had once again. And don't count Michael Mittner out of this situation. If he can close in, if he can keep that gap back down, you know, this ain't over yet. We got ourselves 2 to go here, Will. Now it's all about who's got the nerve.
Yeah, so here we are then. 2 laps of racing to go. Lucas Jestak versus Mark Jarvis. Battle for position. Michael Mittner is behind. No other real battles going out on track. Very quickly, we're going to go back on board with Lucas. Through Island. Turn 5. Gets a bit of a better run through the centre of the corner, loses it on corner exit, and that's the one thing you can't do. He's lost a 10th of a second, he's gained it back down into Britons, but it's desperation time now setting in for the final step of the top 5, and Jarvis hasn't put a foot wrong really. He's had a couple of like half hiccups, but nothing major.
Nothing major just yet, and I think he's doing a fantastic job and I think there's nothing Mittler can do except sit and watch. Jedstad is pushing too hard, in my opinion. He needs to just calm down, go down to 99, not 100 here, because pushing at 100, he's starting to see little unforced errors, the cracks beginning to show of the MSP driver's home driver here. Will once ago now crossing the line. Peter Berryman has this one in the bag, and well, Lucas Jedstad can sit and wait and hope that there is a mistake from Mark Jarvis.
Yeah, let's go on board then with Peter Berryman looking to do the double, 3/4 of a lap away from doing the double. He won out earlier on here today in the official iRacing Formula Renault 2.0 Championship. He's now looking to do the same, and he's got half a lap before he will complete the double in the 2K World Cup in terms of Formula Renault. Out of Shell Oil's corner then for the final time. In terms of that battle for 5, 6 and 7, it has calmed down. Nothing has happened, so you're not missing anything. Peter Berryman has retained that gap of about 2.7 seconds over Lucas Scott. Keep an eye out, by the way, because last race he set his fastest lap of the day, Sebastian Vettel-esque, on the final lap of the motor race. He might try and do the same once again here. Back on board then with Berryman as he now heads himself through Clay Hill Water Tower down into Druid's Corner for the final time in this event. Easy through, easy out, nowhere near that white line of doom. Now just one more corner to go for Peter Berryman. He heads himself down into Lodge Corner for the final time, and once again Apex Racing UK rules supreme here at Oulton Park. It is going to be Peter Berryman winning, Lucas Scott second. For the second time here today, Justin Brunner though will round out your podium for Enix Racing, and then Agnes Waddle there, 4th place. Fantastic job by him. 5th place will be Jarvis, and you can see then the rest of them coming past the start finish line. Well, Jake, it seems to be Apex know this track, and they're good at this track.
Oh, they certainly are, and well, being a home track and a home team as well, they do that extensive practice. They have shown what they can do around here, and they have shown that they certainly have the pace around a circuit like this. They really have put the gauntlet down to everyone else in a Formula Renault. You know what? We're a big team. We're putting good effort into this car. You little teams, otherwise, you have to put that effort in equal or get yourself over to one of our big teams. Otherwise, you're not going to get any quicker.
Look at your final race results then, here on RaceSpotTV. Peter Berryman wins by 2.5 seconds over the competition here today. 2nd place, well, that goes to Lucas Scott. Justin Brunner in 3rd, Agnes Waddle in 4th, Mark Jarvis, Lucas Chestad, Michael Mittner, Nick Thyssen, Oscar Mangan, and Julian Grunstedel rounds out your top 10. There's the rest of the results coming up on your screen. Right about now. As Hugo Prato did well, up to 13th at the end of this motor race after starting from the rear. Of course, Oscar Mangan, we talked about him, he did himself a good job. Mayo Reddy, also from the rear of the field, finishing behind Hugo Prato, although Prato and Mayo Reddy started literally nose to tail at the start of this event. And just having a look then at the remainder of your results, and you'll see that a couple of people there towards the rear of the field not having the days I would have wanted. Of course, we saw Josh Thompson, he had himself that crash. Ergo, why he's all the way down there. And there's the remainder of your results. Well, we'll step aside. We'll see if anyone wants to talk to us. We'll come back in 90 seconds.
So I'm Dan Garrison, engineer at iRacing. I've been working on dynamic track and wanted to take the lab coat off to kind of give an update on what I've been doing to enhance things on the asphalt side, what we're kind of calling the dynamic track version 2. When we started looking at dirt and the interaction between the tire and the track, kind of pointed us to some things we could improve on the asphalt side as well. We were able to kind of rework the calculations that account for heat transferring generally in the direction from the tire to the track. The track will cool a little bit faster when cars are not on it, but more significantly, cars running on the track are going to impart more energy into it, bringing the temperature up and changing the racing experience so that you do have to be wary of the track getting hot and reducing your grip. I've been rethinking some of the calculations that determine kind of how the rubber is torn, whether it's how much is torn from the tire, how much is torn from a rubbered-in track. I've made some changes so that rolling tire will pick up more rubber. We also looked at the thickness of the rubber under the contact patch and realized we can make improvements to the model there. As a result, we're able to make the tire respond a little bit more to how much rubber is there. We're able to influence how fast the track rubbers in areas where the tires are working hard. So I'm excited about these changes that we're making. The temperature in the track is going to be a lot more dynamic. It's going to mean you're going to have to dive around looking for the cool parts of the track. I think it's going to make the different lines come in and change the racing experience, and I'm really kind of excited to see how this is going to change things following the September build when it comes out.
Well, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, one more race to come today. It is the final round of the iAdvance Indy Elite Series. It's the Treble Crown presented by Rick Motec at Pocono Raceway in just 2 hours' time. This has been a RaceSpotTV presentation of the Formula Renault 2.0 2K World Cup here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacingLive. Myself, Will Vincent, and Jake Sparing. We'll talk to you in a bit. Thanks for watching. Good night.